sketchbook ritual. I pull some tarot cards and I paint in my sketchbook. And I get frustrated, really frustrated halfway through, and I almost give up and I almost walk away. And I'm reminded of the advice that I give others to trust the process and that every painting, especially in a sketchbook, does not have to be perfect for it to be worth doing. Allow the messy middle to happen. Keep painting. It's worth it to just see what happens. And I end up liking it a lot more when I'm done with it and I come back to it. And it's not so bad after all. So come paint with me.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another sketchbook ritual. And before I paint, I am pulling a 3 card past, present, and future tarot spread. And I'm using the Queer Tarot deck by Ash and Chess. And I love this deck. You can see the illustrations are really beautiful. It's colorful, but also it's really affirming and it reimagines tarot, like traditional tarot, through queer stories and shows all identities and it interpretation through with a queer history and a lens. And I just like it that it's broader and more inclusive. And as always, I am going to share a little bit about the astrology of the card or the planetary association, maybe a little history, and then how I'm interpreting each card and kind of how it applies for me today and in this reading. So, the first card I pulled represented the past. This is the Fool, and the Fool is associated with Uranus, and that the planet is considered like the planet of liberation and change. And it applies really well to this card. I love the Fool card. It's a card that um, it just makes me happy. It's one of the oldest cards in the deck. It represents someone who exists outside of the rules of society and is often seen as foolish. But I love it because I think it's someone who's willing to live differently than, the expected path. And maybe they're brave and they're bold and they're the misfits and the rebels. And obviously, I mean, that really represents my past here. Um and it's I wasn't always an artist. I For over 20 years I worked in higher education. I had this really stable life. I was a teacher and then I ran an LGBTQ center on a college campus. And art was something that I loved, but it wasn't my career. And I went through some really hard times in my job, but also personally. And I refound art over 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And it came in I mean, I say art saved my life. And I started painting as as a meditation, as a tool, like a space in my day to find peace and color and joy. And eventually I kept painting and painting and painting. And then I started teaching painting and I decided to become a full-time artist and leave my job in education. And it felt like I was the fool. I was stepping into a career that is known. I mean, the tropes about you can't make money as an artist. And I I mean, I was leaving a tenure and a pension, and there was no guarantee that this would work, and there was no roadmap, and it was just a feeling that I had to trust, and I had to take the leap, and I was the fool. So it definitely represents my past. And also I love the reinterpretation of as a queer feminist lens of like who makes the rules in this capitalistic society and who decides that there's one way to build a career, one way to be productive, one way to make money. And that I, um, that every creative journey begins long before we feel ready. And yeah, so that's my past. The second card represents the present, and it's the Queen of Pentacles. And the Queen of Pentacles, this card is represented. It's an Earth card. She's the caretaker, the gardener, the one who knows that meaningful things grow slowly. And the queens become symbols of mastery, and um, they tend to these gardens, and they tend to their passions, and not because they start out perfect, but they because they trust the process, which is what I am doing right now in my life in this art spread. I'm showing up, and people see artists and their work, and think that there's natural talent, or they were born an artist, when really it's just about showing up and making lots of ugly art and canvases that don't work and sketchbooks full of pages that I wanted to rip out. And honestly, um, this this spread is representative of this sketchbook page as well, because this is a point in this spread where I was completely frustrated. I thought it was, I mean, right here. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was ready to give up, and I was ready to walk away, and I almost didn't share this. And then I looked at that card, and I remembered, um, every painting is teaching me something. A sketchbook is a place to make a mess and to make ugly art and to keep showing up and to remember that I've been here before. And when I'm in that ugly, messy middle of a painting or of life, um, knowing that the next mark can change something, that a creative practice is in showing up and in making ugly, ugly art. So it reminds us that creativity is caring for ourselves, and that is enough productivity, and that abundance isn't about it's not about perfection. It's about, again, showing up. And then the final card is the Empress card, and this is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the planet of beauty and creativity and pleasure, and um, it represents creative energy at its fullest. And so I love that this is my future card, even though it's reversed. Again, I don't read reversals as negative, but as insight and a new way of looking at things and perspective. So in the future, so creative energy, creating life, joy, connection. It's often associated with motherhood, but I love reclaiming it as nurturing, and maybe nurturing my projects, nurturing myself. Artists embody this card, teachers embody this card, people who build community embody this card, anyone who leaves the world a little more beautiful. And creativity, maybe it's asking, like, instead of if this spread is good enough, if I am good enough, am I, is it worth, it's worthy enough for me to keep going. So the Queen of Pentacles, well, the Fool asked me to begin before I know what I'm doing. The Queen of Pentacles remind me that showing up matters than the immediate results. And the Empress asked if I can extend compassion to myself while I'm in this messy middle. And actually, now that I'm looking at this painting and I looked at it the next day, I like it more than I thought. So happy painting, keep painting, trust the process.